All right, guys. Y'all asked for it. Y'all wanted a relationship advice. So we're going to dive in and get it. Um Tonight it's going to be about the four foundations of a relationship, or the four pillars. The word, you'll find out later that Paul actually describes them as pillars of a house, as like what a relationship should be built on, the four pillars. But I personally always say foundations. Either way, if you're taking notes, pillars or foundations, the four foundations of relationships. This is going to be based around the verse in 1 Corinthians 13:13. Now these three remain: faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. And I know a lot of us, I mean, me especially too, like, we all struggle with our relationships, of whether it's romantic or not, and is this from God or is it not? Is this something worth pursuing? Is this something worth fixing? Is this something worth keeping around, compared to, is this not of God? Is this dragging me down somewhere, And constantly with that battle of, is it real, basically. Well, we're going to dive into the foundation of a godly relationship, how it stands, why it stands, and what's going to tell you, honestly, if it's godly or not, if it's holy, if it's blessed upon. But anyways, the basics of a relationship are like the pillars or foundation stones of a house. And all of them have to be strong. If you try to make up for one weak pillar by strengthening another, the whole structure isn't going to be balanced. It's not going to be sound. That would be like if you're lacking in one of these areas, but you're trying to compensate with another. Well, now you've got an uneven pillar and the house tilts, and a tilted house is not a strong house. So if you had to limit them, say all the things that go into a relationship, if you had to limit them to just four pillars or stones, even though there are actually many like that's needed in a relationship, especially when it comes to a lifelong marriage, what would they be for you? Because what they boil down to, like the four core that the Bible speaks on, that is a must, non-negotiables, have to have, is love, trust, respect, and understanding. The most lasting of these is love. Paul indicated this when he said that faith, hope, and love abide or remain, but that the greatest of these is love. Above all, love. Love is the non-negotiable, the staple in all relationships. Um, he also went on to say, sorry. He also went on to say in Colossians 3:12 through 13, the most fragile of these four pillars is trust. The most neglected one is respect or honor. The one that takes the longest to develop is understanding or knowledge. But each and every one of these foundations have to be nurtured. If one is weak, it can't make up for the lack in the area by adding to another. You can't have a short pillar on one side and try to negotiate with the other. Like, you can't be lacking in trust and make up in love. Like, it's just your house is going to be slanted, and it's not going to be structurally sound, and the first storm that comes through is going to wipe it out. Your first issue you come along with in the relationship, whether that's bringing up some drama with an ex or drama in the family or something, whatever that first storm is, if you don't have a structurally sound house or relationship, that first storm's going to take y'all out. Each of them have to be nurtured, and the weakness in one can't make up for another. Love won't make up for mistrust, nor understanding for the respect. And like I said, just look at what happens when you do try to substitute. The house gets tilted, the foundation isn't there, and balance is off. You have to have balance. All relationships must be balanced. But anyways, to dive into the very first pillar, the pillar of love. Number one, the pillar of love. Actually, in Greek, the word love is agape. All of y'all try to say that right now. Agape. We're going to dive into the pillar of agape. All right, but love just has characteristics, and love is easy to distinguish between from other things. I had to do a little back move right there to stretch. The characteristics of love are safety and security, support, sense of belonging, care, and acceptance. If someone doesn't give you safety and security, they're missing a pillar of love. And think of, as we dive into these pillars, like the pillar of love, I named off 5 characteristics. Those are pillars of the pillar, if that makes sense. Without all 5, your pillar isn't strong. And if your pillar isn't strong, then the house isn't strong. So it starts off really small, and we're going to dive into the smaller things, such as this. Love gives you safety and security. So if you're in a relationship where you don't feel safe, you don't feel secure, you're constantly worrying, you're constantly overthinking, that's not security. And then support. Love is supportive. If they're not supporting you in what you do, if they're not supporting you and pushing you to grow, if they're not there for you when you need it, you might be a support to them, but they're not a support to you. That's not love. A sense of belonging. You guys, like, love just makes you feel like you belong there. Think of the first time you met God, the first time you came into his love and his mercy. Think of what that felt like. Because to me, it always felt like it was somewhere where I always needed to be but never was, but I belonged there. That's how love is. It gives you a sense of belonging. Care. Care is a characteristic of love. Obviously, if they don't care about you, they don't love you. Care has to honestly come first. And then acceptance. And this is where God's love is above all love, is the acceptance part. He accepts you for who you are no matter what kind of person you are. He accepted murderers into his 12 disciples. I mean, he accepts all of us despite our mistakes, despite our past. How similar does your person and your relationship look like when you compare their acceptance to God's acceptance? Is it similar? Is it close? Is it nowhere close? Because a part of love is acceptance. Number 2, diving into next, the pillar of trust. When it comes to trust, it's basically, you might as well hang a sign on it that says, like, handle with care, like one of those things. Some of us find it easy to trust people. We're pretty, I don't know what you'd call us, honestly. We're just easy. Some people find it easy to trust others, while others don't find it easy at all. They find trust a crazy concept. Like, I trust my family, maybe, and that's it. I can't find myself to trust others. Maybe that's you. But trust is making yourself dependent upon another person for some result or outcome. You're putting dependency on them for how this is going to turn out, how this is going to end. But it's a healthy dependency. You can't be forced into it. It's a voluntary response. It's a voluntary decision. It's an attitude. And it actually has 3 parts. Trust has 3 parts. The first part is you believe in your mind that the other person is trustworthy. Before you even engage in any sort of trustworthiness, you got to mentally believe that they're worth trusting, that they're a trustworthy person. How many people can you list in your life at the present time that you believe are trustworthy? If you just ran that through your head, how many people pop up that you say immediately, like, yeah, they're for sure trustworthy, I can trust them? Well, why? Why are they trustworthy? What makes you believe that they can be trusted? How similar is that answer to biblical scripture? How similar is that person that you trust so much? How similar are they to the one you're trying to fall in love with or try to fall in love with you? How similar are they? The second part of trust is there's an emotional response in trust. You feel assurance or confidence in trusting the other person. So there's a comfort in it. There's not a second guessing. you know, and you're confident in the way they're going to handle themselves with your trust, that they're not going to drop the ball. And who in your mind, who in your life comes there? Like, when you think of that, who pops up? And then lastly, with the last part of trust is your behavior has to come into play when you act on the trust you perceive. So you can believe it, you can be comfortable with it, but are you acting on it? Is it being acted on? Is that trust working? Because think of trust like a muscle of your body. The more you work it, the more you put under it, and the more over and over again it proves itself, the stronger it's going to grow, the stronger it's going to get. The more weights you lift with that muscle constantly over and over and over again, the stronger that muscle is going to get. Well, the trust in your relationship, the more you put tension on it, the more you put on it, the more you test it, the stronger it's going to get, the more it's going to grow. I kind of put it like this. So trust is when you're in the water and a friend reaches down his hand to pull you out, and you reach up and you grasp it, right? So like, you're in a situation where you're drowning, your friend reaches down and they're trying to save you, and you reach up and you grab it, right? No hesitation, no debate on whether they really want to save you or not. You don't sit there and go, well, does he really want to save me, or is he just going to like drop me and go, haha, joking, psych? Like, there's none of that. You believe, you feel confident, you reach out, no hesitation. But there's a risk in trust. That person could let you down. That person could let you go. When you reach out, they could let you go and let you sink back down. And although all life comes with some sort of risk on some sort of level, loving makes you especially vulnerable. Very vulnerable. In fact, you can't be in a loving relationship unless you're willing to run the risk of being hurt. There's always going to be risk involved. So, an easy way for me to tell or ask if you truly trust somebody, right? Do you really trust that person you're with? Whether you're in a relationship with them or looking to be in a relationship with them, if you're in that talking stage that we all do, the easiest way to know whether you do or not is by honestly answering, do you have a plan B? Do you have a plan B for if that person fails you? For if that person isn't there? Is there a plan B? Do you have one? Because if you have one, you don't trust them. If you have made a plan B in case he or she fails you, you don't trust them. And I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'm not trying to like accuse anybody. Like, I'm guilty of it too. I'm a planner. By nature, I want to be prepared. I want to plan ahead. And this has been one of the toughest things I've had to work on in my own relationships when I'm pursuing somebody, is not making that plan B or C or D. Like, but going all in. Because, like, I love a quote from Will Smith. Will Smith said one of the best quotes about it when it came to this: if you have a plan B, it distracts from plan A. It takes time away from plan A. So with your person, you cannot be fully invested in trusting in them and working on them, working with them and growing with them if there's a plan B. Because plan B is distracting from plan A. Plan B is taking time away from plan A. You don't trust them if you have a plan B, if you have an escape route. So, there's that. Number 3, the pillar of respect. And this is the third foundation of a relationship, but it is also the most neglected. This is when I was speaking earlier on one pillar can't make up for another, this is normally the big pillar that everyone tries to take away from and substitute somewhere else. Respect is recognizing and acknowledging the other person's worth and value. This requires you to honestly. It begins with you honoring and respecting yourself, because if you don't respect yourself or honor yourself, there's no shot at you doing it for somebody else. That's like that's like in sports, like you trying to say like I don't need T-ball, I don't need kids pitch. I'm gonna go straight to the big leagues and I'm gonna hit 50 home runs in a season. That doesn't happen. Football players don't skip middle school, high school, college ball, go to the NFL, and they're in the Hall of Fame. No. So, same thing with relationships and your level of respect and trust and love. Like, it starts with you. This this right here is the minor leagues, and you have to get this down before you get to the pros. You have to love and respect yourself and honor yourself before you can ever hope to dream to respect and honor somebody else. Um, how much of your worth and value do you understand? Like, if you don't understand your value, then you're not going to understand someone else's value. Don't think that if you don't understand your spiritual value and how much you have to offer, that you're going to respect and acknowledge how much someone else's value is. That it won't happen. You have to recognize your own first. And it's nothing you can earn either, because it was given to you by God. God gave it to you. So if you haven't found your value in God and what He did for you and what He gave to you, don't try to go find it in somebody else yet. You got to find it here first before you can go help somebody else with theirs or in a relationship. So how do we honor and respect another person, another partner? How do we honor and respect our partners? Well, there are simple steps to it. Number one, you show acceptance. You give recognition. You accept them for who they are. Again, like, we're called to have a godly love. Well, God accepts us for who we are no matter what we've done. Well, it's the same for them. You accept them. You show acceptance. You give recognition. Like, you recognize the past. You recognize their scars, whatever it was there. But if anything, you love them more for it. You don't back down because of it. You don't not accept them. You don't not accept their past. You accept them as a whole person. Past, present, future. Number two, you give appreciation and you give admiration. You appreciate them for who they are. You appreciate them from where they've come. You give admiration to them from where they've come to who they are now. And you just accept, recognize, appreciate, and admire. Because that's what God does for you. God looks down on you and He accepts you for who you are. He recognizes you. He appreciates you. And He admires you. So you do the same for your person in your relationship. Paul is counseling a group of people back in I can't ever say this right. Thessalonians. Sorry, can't ever say that right. Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. Build them, honor them, respect them, and build them. Build them up. That's how you develop the respect and honor, is by building, accepting, recognizing, appreciating, admiring, and building. Help them grow. The last and very essential pillar of relationships is the pillar of understanding. And it is so often overlooked and short-circuited, because what people don't understand is that the pillar of understanding, this is the longest to develop. This isn't immediate in the relationship. This isn't going to be there off the jump at the start line. This takes a good amount of time, and it's based on knowledge. You understand others by getting inside of them, right? And seeing life from their perspective through their eyes. It involves a tremendous amount of communication, of asking, of sharing, and listening. And that's how you develop your understanding of who they are, why the way they are, why they are the way they are, why they think the way they are, why they act the way they are. It takes time. It's going to develop over time. It takes work to develop. It takes the vulnerability to be open, to be able to get to understand one another. Your partner's never going to understand you unless you reveal yourself, unless you open up. Nor will you ever understand them unless he or she is willing to open up to you. It's all going to be based on what you are willing to reveal to one another. And it goes back to being based on the trust that you have on one another, that you're willing to reveal. Like, this is why I'm saying that this comes last, is because without the love, without the respect and honor, without the trust, this part never comes. You have to have those other three built up, and this is the last pillar that you get to put up. Because nobody's going to let you understand them unless they trust you, unless they love you, unless they respect you. Nobody's going to let you understand them. Because think about in your situation, in your corner. If you're trying to defend yourself right now, are you going to let a girl, a man, whichever it may be, are you going to let them truly understand who you are, why the way you are, everything about yourself? Are you going to let them understand you if you don't love them? If you don't respect them? Or if you don't care about them? I don't think you are, right? So, but to sum all of these pillars up, all of the foundations of a relationship, all of it involves risk. I think too many of us sometimes, and I mean myself too, like, we say, I've been hurt too many times, I'm going to take a break, I'm staying away from relationships for a while, I'm just not willing to risk it. I'm not willing to risk getting hurt again, right? All your relationships, romantic or not, are going to involve some sort of risk. It's going to involve an ingredient at some level of risk of getting hurt. Neither love, nor trust, nor respect, nor understanding will ever lead to a loving relationship unless both partners on both sides are willing to risk being vulnerable. And that's what I've got to say about relationships. So, I hope that you were able to take something away from this, that you learned a lot today on what the Bible wants to tell you about the foundational pillars of what a godly spiritual relationship is on. So, I hope you learned. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something. I hope you all can go on and grow your relationships or find a relationship that you can build upon spiritually and godly, and that God can lay his hand upon and just bless, and you look back and realize that was the best decision you ever made, was willing to be risky and be vulnerable. Anyways, I'm going to pray us out, and then I hope y'all have a wonderful night, guys, and I love each and every one of you, and thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you guys for Midnight Church. I love y'all. Anyways, thank you, God. Thank you for this message. Thank you for your word. Thank you for bringing us a lesson tonight. Thank you for just showing up, God, and having your spirit here and willing to give us some wisdom and knowledge as to what it is to have a godly relationship in your name, God. Father, I'm just praying for protection and love over each and every individual that can hear my voice right now, that is listening and is tuned in. They have put in the effort. They showed up, God. They came and they just wanted to get closer to you, God. And I pray and I pray and I pray that that happened tonight, that their relationship with you is stronger than ever, or strengthening, or maybe they're here for the very first time not knowing what to do, but that they're open to it, God, and that you just move in them and that you just bring them to life, God, because I'm praying that each and every day more brothers and sisters are going to join us in heaven one day, that the kingdom keeps growing, people keep reaching out, and that you're able to use this platform to build disciples, and that we continue to go out and make this world a brighter place, God. All of these things I pray in your holy name, and amen. Love you guys. I'm staying here on TikTok.